Hello, my name is Kelly Evans, and I'm the Vice President of Education for AIJ Chicago. And AIJ Chicago Toolkit Series is an ongoing series of presentations given by various professionals that began in July 2020. The series focuses on helping students and recent graduates transition into the workforce. Tonight's presentation is being recorded and will be uploaded to the AIGA website. If you have any questions, please take advantage of the Q&A feature in Zoom. You may also access a live transcript of the presentation by turning on that feature at the bottom of your Zoom window. Tonight's topic, Discovering Design Internships, will teach you the ins and outs of finding those design internships and what to do. I will begin by introducing you to Alex Somerville. Alex currently serves as an education chair for AIGA Chicago. She is a senior designer at the River North-based design agency Simple Truth and is also an educator and foundation's curriculum coordinator at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I would also like to give a shout out to the other education team members working behind the scenes tonight. Thanks to Ola Kapuska, Maya Berg, and Mihan Liu. So take it away, Alex.
All right, thank you so much, Kelly. Hi, everyone. As Kelly mentioned, I'm Alex Somerville, Education Chair of the Chicago chapter of AIGA. I'm an educator at UIC and a senior designer at the creative branding agency Simple Truth. And I have the pleasure tonight of introducing our speaker, my colleague, Kim Terzis. First an intern, now a partner, Kim has been working with Simple Truth for over 30 years. Collaborating with Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and nonprofits, and helping them really get to the core of what they're all about. Over the past 3 years, Kim and I have worked closely together to develop and revamp our internship program from the ground up, asking ourselves many of the key questions that Kim is going to cover tonight. So this webinar is going to be broken up into two major parts. Part one will cover what a design internship is, what it should not be, as well as why internships are so valuable. We'll then pause for a short Q&A session before moving on to part two, where Kim will cover what to look for in an internship, how to be a great candidate, and what the best internship programs include. And then we'll have a few additional minutes at the end for some Q&A and then some closing remarks. As Kelly mentioned, please be sure to use the Q&A feature within Zoom throughout the entire presentation. So with that, you can take it away, Kim.
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here talking with you all tonight about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It is where I started my journey as a designer. It was the summer between my junior and senior years of college as a design student at Northern Illinois University, and I needed a job. I could wait tables, which I was not very good at. I could do more temporary office work, which I found so boring. I could work in my dad's printing company, and you can imagine all the reasons why I didn't want to do that. Or I could find a temporary design job where I could put my skills to the test and get some real world experience. It was 1987, and back then we had the yellow pages. And if you don't know, it was like a 3-inch thick phone book that for me held the number and the promise of what would become a 3-year internship and a 32-year design career. After weeks of cold calling and finally landing some interviews that summer, I became the very first intern at a studio called Graphically Speaking. And it was just a few summers ago that I became the executive creative director and a partner at that same company, now known as Simple Truth. So over the years, I have had the absolute joy of not only creating our intern programs, but then hiring and mentoring so many students along the way. A few things have been more rewarding and meaningful to me than to watch the transformation of a student over the summer. And to know that when it was time for them to leave and go back to school or out into the world, they left a little bit better than when they started. So I hope what I share today gives you some insight into what internships are, why they're important, what you can expect from them, and what they may expect from you. And whatever that is, it's sure to be a win-win. Okay, so let's get started from the top here. What is a design internship? Basically, it's a short-term employment program for designers in training. The different types of internships can include programs that are specifically project or client-based, or they may be time-based and more general in what they offer, or they might be closely tied to a school curriculum and course requirements. They can be on-site, fully remote, or a hybrid scenario. And you might find yourself as the one and only design intern or part of a cohort or intern class or group. Each type of program has its merits. The programs that are project or client-based will give you a deep dive into a specific business problem or brand. You may engage in many different facets of solutioning like ideation, concept development, execution, and delivery. Or you may be asked to work with teams on some of the more foundational components of a brand, like interpreting brand strategy or expression in fresh new ways. And then time-based programs are available throughout the course of a year, and these can include summer internships, which typically last 12 to 15 weeks. They can be a full semester or trimester, aligning with school calendars. And sometimes you'll find more flexible programs. Some can be a few days a week for a predetermined number of weeks. And they can, happen during the school year to coincide with specific breaks, like a winter break or spring break. Programs that are required or supported by schools may have specific parameters in place in order to receive credit for your time interning. And companies who offer this type of program typically coordinate with the school to align with those specific requirements. And this may include things like certain interactions and reviews with the faculty. You may have to demonstrate work in different ways, like through a final presentation or a portfolio review. And then in terms of where you work during your internship, this has become super flexible due to COVID. Some companies and agencies are still fully remote, and this can really work. It can work well. Our Simple Truth internship last summer was fully remote. But then it's also in our nature and just a part of our culture to want to come together as a group. So we also offered several smaller outdoor gatherings and events. And of course, our intern Victor at that time was a part of them all. Being remote also offers the chance to work for a company or an agency in another city without having to move your whole life around. And I think this is super exciting and something I would most likely have taken advantage of during my college years. And then the on-site internships are still happening because many companies and agencies are back to the office full-time now. And honestly, there's nothing that replaces the spirit and energy you feel when working side by side with a group of designers and writers as they ideate and make magic. And then the last option, we now have this hybrid scenario, which gives you the best of both worlds. So you have that on-site experience with real-time feedback and interaction mixed with the flexibility to be heads down, fully focused as you work from home a few days a week. And then in terms of compensation, you should expect that your internship is going to be paid, at least matching minimum wage requirements. At Simple Truth, we have an hourly model, and we also include other benefits like team events and outings, weekly yoga and meditation. And then also remember that some programs are going to give you the ability to earn course credit. And then in addition to these more tangible types of compensation, know that you will be gaining a deeper understanding of your career path and your craft. And you'll also be getting ongoing advice and access to people who may very well end up playing a key part in helping you shape your design career. So there are many, many rewards here. Okay, well, I think you probably know this, but I'll say it anyway. Your internship should in no way put you in a position of being the gopher. So going for this, going for that, cleaning up the studio, bringing coffee and donuts, asked to just sit there and watch the team work. This really does happen. And so it's going to be critical that you ask the right questions during your interview so you can suss out this kind of environment and position. I think some companies and teams just have a less than progressive attitude about what a design internship should be. And so when you encounter an opportunity that offers no clarity about what you'll be doing or appears to have no real structure or plan in place, I say run for the hills. It will end up being a complete waste of your time, talent, and effort. And while you can rationalize and think it could be great to just be around creative people doing creative things, it really won't help you advance yourself or your skills. Okay, so why is having one or more internships so valuable? Well, they offer a solid opportunity for personal growth, both hard skills, which is like, the technical abilities needed to complete design tasks, time management, and project processes, and then those soft skills. So that's more about how you relate to people and develop positive working relationships and how you navigate a work environment and can contribute to a team and to the company's culture. And the company itself benefits too. So offering great internship programs can boost awareness and interest in a company among new and emerging artists. And tapping into this and having that fresh talent on board is not only critical for bringing new ideas and perspectives to problem solving, but it also helps a company stay in tune to the wants and needs of this particular target audience. And then coordinating, implementing, and managing internships also provides great mentoring and leadership opportunities for employees. In terms of opportunity, if you start interning a bit earlier in college, you'll be able to try on and test out a range of companies, work styles, and environments. Big agencies, small studios, specific industries and brands. And this is a great time to put yourself out there and really get a taste for what you like, what feels comfortable. And you really want to try to find the kind of place where you think you're going to excel. And you get to do this without making a long-term commitment. I would say to consider it research. It's going to be invaluable information for when you're ready to start your search for full-time employment. And then enrichment, and we've touched on this a little bit, but also having a chance to learn new skills or hone the ones you already have is so important for the work you'll continue to do in school or in your next role. And having those mad design skills to lean into is highly desirable and frankly, sometimes hard to find in new designers. This could really give you a leg up on the competition. You'll also gain new experiences that you can draw from and apply to design in other contexts and situations. And then being able to expound on and share this type of firsthand knowledge during an interview can speak volumes to your future employer. And then last, we know anyone in the business or especially looking for work knows the value of having a strong network, and interning is a great way to start building those connections. You'll have the opportunity to form bonds with coworkers. You might tap into a peer group or creative association. You might even find a mentor, that person who sort of takes you under their wing and shows you the ropes. And I cannot say enough about having a mentor. That's really a whole other conversation, how to have a mentor, how to find a mentor. But typically, this is someone who knows the business and has great resources and referrals. They're objective and they offer actionable, honest advice and feedback. And this is someone who will support you well beyond the life of your internship, well beyond the life of your internship. So that brings us, I think, to our first question period. Do we have anything in particular, Alex?
Yeah, I think I see a question here in the Q&A. Is it bad for me to just pass on internships that don't pay? I know I need the experience, but I also don't really want to have my time and work be unpaid. Sad face.
Well, I think that you're going to probably want to try to secure the ones that pay. I mean, honestly, you are contributing to the team, hopefully valued. And I think it kind of speaks loudly for a company who doesn't pay their interns. So I would pass on it. I think I would look for another opportunity. It's probably what your gut is telling you anyway, so I would follow that.
I have a question that I'm an internship advisor at Loyola. And one question that I always thought was really curious is that my students sometimes will ask me, well, the person hiring me wants to know if it's for credit or not, and implying that if it's for credit, they're not going to get paid. Have you come up against that in your experience, Kim?
Well, I haven't in the times where we have been able to provide, work with a school to provide credit. We've always paid. So it was sort of a separate track. I mean, we were coordinating with the school to make sure that we were aligning with, their program and how that credit would be provided to the student. But then separately as a business, we made the decision to, have that hourly rate that we pay our interns.
Yeah, and I just want to add that the AIGA, our ethics guidelines is that you shouldn't accept unpaid work, or you shouldn't do spec work. So that's something that we're very much behind, the fact that you're as an intern, as a designer, your expertise in your work has value regardless of your level of experience. And so I think it's important for all of you to really think about that when you come up against some of these questions.
100% agree. Yes. Okay. Anything else?
A couple more questions that just came in. Do interns typically work a 40-hour week like a regular job? Although I know a graphic designer won't work just 40 hours a week.
Okay, well, I can speak for Simple Truth, and this is something that we work with our interns on very early in their program. And so we're very flexible, because depending on if our internship is happening during the school year, they have other commitments, as well as during the summer. So we establish that, and we have a policy of being flexible, just as long as we have a plan set that we can count on, because the team really does depend on everyone. And so we just need to know, when the availability is going to be, and we work with that to accommodate all of our interns.
Great. From Grace, what are the best resources to start looking for an internship? Aren't you covering that next?
Yes, I'm going to be covering that soon.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Giselle asks, is it worth working in an internship that is somewhat involved in design, i.e. an art gallery internship while being a graphic designing student?
I can go ahead and take that one, Kim.
Okay.
I think working in an adjacent design field, even if it's not exactly a design agency, is definitely a worthwhile experience for you to have. I personally come from an architecture background and have had many architecture internship, and those experiences helped me, shape who I am, not only as a designer, but as just a general employee. You learn a lot just by being in a space with others, working alongside of a team, and you can take some of those kind of real life experiences and skills that you gain from these experiences to an actual design job later on in the future. So yes, I think it's definitely a worthwhile thing to pursue, even though it might not be that exact graphic design internship that you were looking for at the very beginning.
And I could just add to that, being someone who hires designers, to know that they have this experience in other areas of design or other creative outlets, it is really important, because they come to their work with a different perspective, and it's all about the experiences they have that help to build those perspectives. So I personally love that.
All right, we have another question. What is the best way to respond when you're told that you don't have enough work-related experience? This is from Abby.
Well, I'm going to cover this a little bit later too. It's kind of about how to position yourself when your book is maybe a little bit smaller, your experience is not as great, and it's really, as I'll go into a little bit later, it's really about being able to frame the experience you have, what those learnings were along the way, and what you took from that, and being able to articulate the experience. For me, and a lot of times it's about the conversation about the work, versus having to try to coalesce a story of kind of disparate projects or smaller studies. So anyway, I think I would just think about how you frame yourself, how you frame the work you do have, and tell that story of what you took from it, what you took away from it.
Great. How are we doing for time, Alex?
I think we're doing good. We have just I think a couple more minutes. Maybe we can do one or two more questions.
Okay, great. We have a couple more questions. I just wanted to make sure we had time to answer them. How do we become qualified for an internship? This is from Abigail.
Well, for a design internship, I mean, the qualifications really range, and sometimes we have students who are, just between their freshman and sophomore years. Sometimes we have students who are, looking towards graduation and their first jobs. And a lot of times the candidate and the qualifications are predetermined depending on the business. So what in particular we want to offer to the intern at that time, what level we want to offer a position to. So is it more of that senior, or is it somebody who is, younger or earlier in their design education? So we kind of preset that, and that's really kind of upfront in terms of, how we market the position or the internship. And so, you'll know if your qualifications kind of align with that, based on, how it's written up, how it's marketed.
And I think one thing that's important for students to realize is that people hiring you for an intern know that you're not going to know everything. We know that the reason why we hire interns is it's a way of giving back to the community and helping, new designers come along. So I think that's something not to stress out about as much, because we know what we're getting when we hire you usually, which is important. All right, one more quick question from Sarah. I want to apply for multiple internships. Can I wait to commit to one until I've heard back from all the companies that I've applied to, or do I need to know once I'm offered the internship if I'm going to take it or not?
So, okay, so let me just get this clear. You're putting feelers out to multiple companies. You want to see how many offers you get or what the different offers are and make your decision. I think that you can do that. I mean, know that it's competitive. Internships can be competitive. So I don't think you want to wait too long, but there's no reason you would have to interview and accept on the spot. It's a position that you have to consider what's right for you. So
Yeah, I think making sure that you're just being prompt with following up. As someone that manages a lot of internship applications for one or maybe two spots, its inboxes get full very quickly. And so, if you want to go that extra step, especially after you've had an interview with someone already, to make sure to send a follow-up email, maybe a handwritten note. I don't know if those days are still here of everybody being in one place and getting mail. But those types of things go a long way, connecting with people on LinkedIn, just making sure that your name is still in their heads, and that you haven't kind of fallen through the cracks. So I think definitely apply for multiple internships. It is really competitive out there, especially now. And I wouldn't throw all your eggs in one basket before you feel confident to do so.
Okay, great. So let's wrap this up and then we'll get started on the next part of the presentation. So take it away, Kim.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're already starting to talk about some of the things I want to cover in the second half. Right now, I thought we'd talk a little bit about what to look for in an internship. And first, you're going to want to set some goals and requirements for what you expect to gain from the experience. So it's going to be important to sit and do a little bit of self-reflection here. Take some time to honestly evaluate where you are in terms of your current skills and know-how. Like we were just talking about, are you early in your design education, or are you a more advanced student, looking towards graduation and landing that first job? Is your focus going to be about upskilling or learning the ins and outs of agency life? And, maybe you even want to learn more about a particular industry or client type, kind of be that targeted about it. You could also be considering shifting your career path and you want to test the waters. So whatever it is, you just map it out before you start the process of applying and interviewing. Being able to really clearly articulate and discuss the specific goals you have for yourself and your internship experience really helps when speaking with prospective employers, and ultimately will help you determine which opportunity is going to be, the best fit no matter what stage you're at. And then, so how do you find an internship? And I will say I no longer recommend using the yellow pages, but I think a good place to start is always, just talking to the people you already know. So teachers, friends, family, friends of family. I think you might be surprised who knows who and who works where. I like to say go after this low hanging fruit first. And then next, check your school boards and your advisors. Oftentimes there are already systems in place to help you connect with different businesses. And then you can also get involved with AIGA, with an AIGA student group, or attend an event. It's really important to get active in your local design community. And then, of course, there's always the online research. So you're going to find posts on company websites and their social platforms. This is, always a kind of a standard and always a good way to learn what's out there. All right. So how to be a great candidate. And a few months ago, I was giving another talk about interviewing for a design position, which that, by the way, is another big topic to think about. But for purposes of today, I just wanted to share a few tips for how to be a great intern candidate. And like we were just talking about, landing an internship can be really competitive. And it's not only competitive for the applicants, but for companies too. And you can ask Alex, there have been, definitely times when I wish we would have started marketing our internship program maybe a little bit sooner. So as they say, the early bird gets the worm. But anyway, so I would just be planful and give yourself plenty of time to do the goal setting, the researching, the outreach that we just talked about. Know that this all takes time, and you really want to be ready when those opportunities start to open up. And this can even be early, March timeframe for those summer positions. So you want to really try to get on top of this. So, you can have your book and your resume in order, you can apply, and then you're preparing for those interviews as they come available. And then do not underestimate the power of a first impression. So chances are that a creative director or an associate will first come in contact with you via email. And that's typically going to include your resume and maybe a few samples or a link to your portfolio. I really advise you to take time writing and editing the content in this email. Overall, it should be a little bit more formal in tone and a bit more direct. Make sure you're addressing the recipient properly with the correct spelling of their first and last names, using correct pronouns throughout. And then, state your purpose for reaching out, to inquire about an internship position and to secure an interview. I personally like it when someone tells me how they found out about a position, and they can give me a few reasons why they would be the perfect candidate. Also, if you have approval, I don't think it hurts to name drop, to let the reader know that you were referred and that you both have someone in common. I think that's a good thing. And then I would always close the email, of course, as polite as you are and with your contact information, but then also consider a call to action like, thank you, looking forward to meeting with you. Please advise on your timing and next steps in this process. Something to reinforce that you're positive about your qualifications and you're eager to participate at the next level. And above all else, proofread this letter. Have others proofread this letter and then proofread it again. And that goes the same for your resume, your portfolio samples, and anything else that represents you and your personal brand. Anything with print on it. This is just so important. We're designers, type is our thing. And if our own work isn't clean and accurate, what does that say about the work you'll be doing during your internship? So just put the best foot forward there. And then the last point here is about interviewing, and it's about telling the story of you. And how does that story unfold in 20 minutes or less? I personally like to be taken on a journey with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you would start with an introduction, who you are, where you're from, what led you to the design field, what or who influenced you, and then like, how did you know this was it for you? This is going to be the beginning part, so it's a little bit shorter. And then tell me the progression and the steps you've taken to get to where you are today, and show me your work. And so this is the middle, and it's going to be the longest part. And then, end with why you're speaking with me today, and give me those 3 reasons why you're that best candidate for an internship at my company. And this, this is the end. So, you can be a little bit more direct and succinct here. But know that I am likely to ask many questions, throughout the story. And so you want to give some thought to and try to anticipate what some of those might be, and know how you want to answer them. And then I would say be ready to ask your own questions. Be selective and make sure those questions are specific and relevant to the company, the program, the position itself. And this demonstrates that you've already invested time in learning about the company, and it shows that you're willing, that you're willing to engage and you're on top of things. And know that it's okay to ask questions like, what is a day in the life of an intern at your company like? And at the end, ask who you should follow up with or what the next steps are. It shouldn't feel like an inquisition, but you really want to make this interview work for you, and you want to leave with a clear idea of what the role entails and what the expectations are that go with it. And then we were just actually during the Q&A, we were talking about this next part that I wanted to just bring up. And it's a specific concern that I hear about a lot. We heard about it tonight. And it has to do with candidates who are early in their design educations. So they usually have fewer samples to share in their portfolios and sort of wrestle with, how to tell a cohesive story with that more disparate project work. But my advice is to know that the interviewer should already have an understanding and have adjusted expectations based on knowing, the level you're at, as stated in your resume, and then maybe even in your initial email. And while, the actual work is important to see in terms of originality and approach and execution, I do, like I said before, I really want to hear you talk about it. Tell me about the problem you were faced with and the process you went through to solve it. What were the hurdles and the learnings along the way? How did you come to your final solution, and why is it right? So giving me insight into how you think and hearing how well you can articulate the different aspects and phases of your project can mean even more to me than the work itself. So I would not stress about the number of projects or how extensive the studies were. It's really, again, it's about how you frame the experience, the solve, and the learnings, and understanding how you might apply those learnings going forward. I would say also, if you have other questions about setting yourself up to be a great candidate, I might also recommend finding out more about the specific support that the AIGA provides. I know this toolkit series is one area to consider. It includes, a range of topics like resume writing and other things. Okay, so now what are the best programs? This is kind of a short list of what I think makes for a best in class internship program. At Simple Truth, we are very deliberate about how we architect our program, and we are continually reviewing it and evolving it based on our own learnings, as well as feedback from our students, from our interns. We always make sure we include a final review with them and an exit interview before they leave us so they can give us their insights. I think a top priority should be that internship is built for the student's experience level. We never want to put someone in a position to fail or to feel as if they failed, but they should feel challenged and pushed outside their comfort zones, because this is how we learn, and we want to provide that back to them. And I believe that the experience overall should be a team effort, because there are so many different roles and areas of expertise within a company. And we want our interns to understand the importance of each and what they're specifically responsible for throughout a project life cycle. And I think a great program will help you learn the ins and outs of each team, and provides a really clear picture of where you and your skill set fits in. You should also gain good insight into other related areas of business. So, at Simple Truth, we engage our employees and we ask them to host lunch and learns throughout the course of an internship. So a student can hear about different positions and roles and ask questions if they want to know more. And then, hopefully your internship is going to ignite that fire in the belly, and it's going to inspire you to do your most creative work. I think you should have the space to move and to think and to bring those big blue sky ideas, the ones that are going to push boundaries and encourage teams to come at a problem from a new angle or perspective. Challenge the team on the ground, and hopefully you'll feel safe and secure, and you'll know that it's okay, to use your voice and to contribute to creative conversations and to work sessions. When you're at Simple Truth, you're a full member of the team from day one, and we encourage our students and our interns to jump in and share their ideas freely. And then we work with them to, develop a range of concepts and execute those ideas across different touch points. And we challenge them also by giving them an independent project that they create in parallel to client work and later present to the whole company. It sounds intimidating, but it's a really great experience, I think. So anyway, so you see with just a few of these examples, some of what the ingredients are for what I think a great design internship can be, and some of the many ways that having an internship can serve as a great creative foundation and an invaluable opportunity for growth. And it can be a great launch pad for your new career. I think that brings us to some Q&A time.
Excellent. We have some good questions coming in. All right. From Amelia, what website or application would you recommend to create your portfolio?
I was gonna say I can take that one. So one thing I would definitely recommend looking into that is going to be your cheapest option is the Adobe Portfolio Builder. Now, I'm sure as design students, you guys are already paying for the Creative Cloud, and that's something that comes already with your Creative Cloud package. And it's really a great application to be able to upload your work and keep things up to date. I've also seen students use things like Squarespace or Cargo Collective. I would try and be a little bit more minimalistic when it comes to creating these websites. Really what we want to see there is the work. Unless your focus is, website building and UI UX, and that's, your website is actually the showcase piece itself. I recommend, toning things back a little bit, let the work speak for itself, and kind of act as like a gallery space to let your work shine.
Great. This is from Kaylee. You talk about how competitive getting an internship can be. Other than telling a story during an interview, what is one thing that can set me apart from the other applicants during an interview?
What is one thing that can set you apart? Well, the work is going to set you apart. You know, and I think you just really being able to articulate your experiences to me, and you know what you feel you can bring to the table, and talk about what you want to learn, and just sort of really have a perspective. A lot of times, you know, when I'm interning, it's more about me talking to the person across the table. But if you're really active and you bring a perspective and you bring an opinion to the conversation, you know, that tells me a lot. And it tells me that it's, you know, you're going to really be able to contribute in different ways.
I also think making sure that you're able to position any type of collaborative work that you've done is a great way to help stand out. Because as designers working out in the industry, it's very, very rare that you are working solo. You're either working with a writer or a web developer or strategist or other designers. So finding ways to leverage times when you've been a part of a team, whether that be on a design project or not, is another way I think you can help kind of stand out from the crowd.
I also think if you have, you know, other skills, like if you like to do photography, or if you're an illustrator, so beyond just design, you know, what are those other creative skills that you have? That's always really interesting to see sort of your background and your foundation in terms of creativity in general.
Video, we're always looking for people that have fun with video.
Yes, please.
Great, excellent. So we have a question from Mihan. What's the difference between an internship and an apprenticeship? Does one need more experience than the other?
Interesting. I am not 100% sure how best to answer that, because we have not offered an apprenticeship. So I don't know. Alex, have you experienced the option for either of those? As it relates?
I haven't seen as many apprenticeships in the design field. I know that, you know, in my architecture life ago, and that's something that definitely happened. I would say with an apprenticeship, you're typically working a little bit more one-on-one with someone. You know, you are focused on, you know, shadowing their every move and learning directly from them. Whereas an internship, from a design sense, you are getting some of that one-on-one interaction, but you're a little bit more project-based, right? You know, you're a team member, at least at Simple Truth, you're a team member just as if, you know, we had any other designer on the team. So there can be nuances about that. And I think if you are kind of weighing your options between something that's called an internship and something that's called an apprenticeship, definitely talk with those individuals and dig in a little bit more about what they expect that full experience to be, so you can kind of best decide what will fit your needs in that exact moment.
Great. We have another question from Remy. Would you recommend a printed portfolio to differentiate or not? What reasons might a printed portfolio be particularly useful?
Well, I'm fine with a portfolio in a digital format. I usually will have an intern project it. We have the capability and equipment to do that. I've also kind of huddled up with a candidate to look at their tablet. I do like the physicality of, you know, a printed book, but it is not necessary at all.
Yeah, I also would think about, you know, that first impression in order to get yourself into the door to have that in-person interview is probably going to be some sort of online version. So having a web version or a PDF version that people can easily access, I think is going to be key to have. If you have specific projects that are a little bit more print-based. I know, Kim, in my first interview, I brought some books that I had made. Yes, people, I mean, Kim and I are print people, we get it. And so having those more tactile moments for those individual projects might be a great way to showcase that, but you definitely want to make sure you're having something that is just as eye-catching and unique as in the online format.
And one of the things, when I first started teaching professional practice, I had that same question too. And I asked a bunch of my friends who are all designers, And that you have to have the digital presence, but they also said it's really great if you have something physical to bring along to show in addition, like you were just talking about, Kim, about how great it was to see the books that Alex had made. So anything like that that you can bring along, or if you've created a case study for a particular project and you've printed that up, that sort of thing is just value added when you go in for those interviews.
Yep.
All right, from Amelia. For collaborative skills in projects, would a previous work experience unrelated to graphic design still count?
Yes. I like to hear about, all of those experiences and how you work in a team in particular is important, because like Alex said, you're most likely going to be working with a team of writers, designers, strategists. And so just, what your experiences were, collaborating with multiple people and what you took from that, I think is very well worth the conversation.
Great. From Mihan, what are your tips on presenting your portfolio in an interview?
I think
Wow.
for me, I was gonna say, for me, making sure that you have it all ready to go, that your computer is charged, that your iPad is charged, that you have everything open if you're in an in-person type situation. If you're doing a Zoom interview, making sure that you don't have your notifications on, anything that's distracting, or, other files open, that, we take note of all those types of things. And so making sure that you are as professional as possible is really key when presenting your portfolio.
In terms of the actual work that you're walking through, I also would really, I kind of like how it's set up as a case study. So you're stating what the problem was first, and then you're taking on sort of a logical flow and path through the work and through the different phases of the solutioning that you did. Just makes it easy for me to follow and understand from the beginning what that problem was, and to see all the steps you took to try to solve it. So
there's a question that ties in directly to what you were just talking about from Ariana. How many work samples should we show? In a previous class, I was told 15 to 20 projects, but I've heard others say 3 to 6 case studies is better.
well, boy, 15 to 20 is a lot, but
That is a lot. That seems overwhelming.
you know what? I'm probably in the camp of I think 3 is kind of light on the case studies, but if you could get like 4 to 6 case studies that are a little bit more robust and have some different, phases to them, some different parts of the work. I mean, Alex, don't you feel like that's pretty right on?
Yeah, I think so. We'd like to see the depth versus having a lot of different versions. I think that if you have a website that is your repository of all of the projects you've done, you can leave that all there. But making sure that you're being really mindful of your interviewer's time and really digging in deep with just kind of a few that seem to match, what the type of work that they do, catering to that, I think will really help you kind of focus the conversation.
Yeah.
And I just want to put, I already put a link into the chat, the Toolkit series resources. There's an excellent presentation resources by Jonelle Sirin about how to make case studies. And it's a really, really good thing for you to take a look at, because it will help you formulate what that looks like and put that into your portfolio. All right, so from Jacqueline, is there a preference of degree type when an employer is interviewing interns? I'm finishing my associates and worry people with bachelors have priority over me, even if the job description doesn't say.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the beginning part of that question one more time?
Is there a preference of degree type when an employer is interviewing interns? I'm finishing my associates and worried that people with bachelors have priority over me, even if the job description doesn't say what type of degree they're looking for.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of weight in the degree. It's really about how the person has presented themselves, their work. I really don't look at that as a primary factor. Alex, what do you think?
I also don't think it's necessary. I would definitely lead with the work, and to note that, our most recent intern, he had an associate's degree. at the beginning, and then transferred over to and was working on his bachelor's. So I think definitely just lean on the work that you have and the experiences that you do have, and let your degree do the kind of sit in the back.
So we have a question from Jen. Do I have to keep the style of the project consistent on my portfolio?
Okay, I'm trying to understand. Okay, the style of the project. Can you explain a little bit more about?
Jen, if
What-
you could in the chat, like, or put a new question in to kind of clarify that, because I wasn't quite sure either. And then in the interim, we can answer another question if that's okay. Okay, so from Paige, would dropping off a physical copy of your portfolio and application materials for a position internship you found online be a good or bad move?
Well, I mean, it definitely would show additional effort, right? So I mean, I like that. I don't often meet with anybody kind of on the fly. So if you're just dropping it off with like a note, I mean, I would definitely entertain looking at that, and it would speak to me in terms of like I said, that extra effort. But if you are going to try to have an impromptu meeting with someone, I probably wouldn't recommend that.
Especially right now, because there's so many people that are, I mean, there's so many design studios and in firms that are not working in their offices right now, but it definitely it's something to consider, like, if they are working in their physical space. Jen, did you want to recalibrate that question? It hasn't shown up yet. And then we'll see if that shows up and see if anyone has any more questions. And we'll just kind of see. We'll wait a second. No. So if Jen meant, did you mean the style like of your portfolio from page to page, or the work? I think that was kind of the confusion. So maybe you could touch on that a little bit, Kim, if I'm just interpreting her.
Okay, yeah. So if it's about how the portfolio is assembled, if you have like 3 different case studies and you want to present them 3 different ways, is that a problem? I don't think so. It doesn't have to be apples to apples with each case study, as long as it's a logical flow for me and I understand what the problem was. And then I clearly understand, how you went about, solving that. As long as you can take me on sort of a logical flow, it's going to feel different anyway, because the work is going to be different from one case to the next. But, I kind of can compartmentalize each case study and see it for what it is. So that's not a problem for me in particular.
And I think one thing that one of our ed team just brought up, if they mean like a design style, or she was saying how I was only doing illustrations for a good portion of school. I think one of the things that's important in your portfolio is to not show a whole bunch of the same thing necessarily. It's to try to show more of your like your range and the breadth of what you can do. And so I always encourage my students to create work that sort of fills out their portfolio as they're doing the work. Unless you want to be specialized and you just want to do video, or you just want to do UI UX, then that's another thing altogether. It really depends on the internship and what they're looking for. That would probably be that would be how I would base my decision making on what I'd include.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So then I want to take a moment to thank everyone for attending tonight, to thank Kim and Alex and the rest of the education team for this great presentation. We've thrown into the chat information on Simple Truth. You can go look at their website, or you can take a look at them on Instagram. I also want to toot the horn of the next big event that is coming up for the AIGA Chicago Education Group. We are on April 9th, we have Test Flight, which is the virtual portfolio review for designers. I've thrown the link in the chat. It is a wonderful way to get your portfolio in front of design professionals. And it's a nominal fee for the students, and you sign up and you're going to show a project and get some feedback in real time from the people that could potentially be hiring you in the future. So I would encourage all of you to check that out. And I think that's it for now. And we'll say goodnight to everyone. And thank you for coming. And again, thanks for sharing your expertise, Kim and Alex. It was really appreciated.
Thank you.